Hey everyone, this is Heini, founder of Vivino and host of this podcast. Thank you very much for watching and thank you for being a part of the Vivino community. Today we have a different format for you, and let me tell you a little bit of a story about that. A few months ago we had a blog post surface that was a little bit critical of Vivino. It was a long-time user that was passionate about Vivino, but also was quite frustrated with the direction Vivino was going. It sort of rotated inside Vivino. We talked a lot about it, and we wanted to give that person a little bit of extra voice here on this podcast. It's a blog called Glass of Bubbly and is written by Christopher Walkey. We wanted to dig a little bit deeper into this, hear the opinions of Christopher, see what he has to say. So I sat down with Christopher and had a long conversation with him. Today we're discussing those points with Oleg, our head of product engineering. So let's get into that conversation. Also, if anyone wants to read the blog post, there's a link in the description. Okay, Oleg, thank you for joining me today again.
Sure.
Great to have you. And we're doing something a little bit different here now. We're going to listen to some clips from a user, a interesting user, a very savvy user, and you will have heard about him when we get there. So I just want to say again, Oleg hasn't seen any of this before.
I haven't seen a single one.
So here we go. Let's have a look at who this is first and foremost.
Yes.
Welcome here, Christopher. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Very much involved in sparkling wine, champagne and sparkling wine for the last 10 years. I founded a company called Glass of Bubbly. We do awards in London. We do the show. We have a massive website and we have a lot of writers from around the world. And we literally promote bubbles. That could be Charmat method, that traditional method, and everything else in between. So that's my passion. And that passion obviously led me to use such a wonderful app called Vivino.
Fantastic. So, and is this your full-time job or is it more of a hobby?
Well, good question. I like that question. It wasn't a hobby initially, to be honest with you. It was a tester hobby because we liked wine. Well, we was like any other consumer. We went into the supermarket. We went to the end of the aisle. We purchased what was ever on promotion. We had no real idea of what was inside the bottle, etc. But we knew there was something more to it. With our passion and drive for marketing and understanding the marketing, and the fact that we had several other companies working online, we said, why don't we take our vision of marketing and put it into the wine industry and do something that we love as opposed to just a job that we run with the other concepts that we have. So that's why we're in this business. We understand marketing and we have a passion for sparkling wine.
Cool.
I love it. I love it. He's very passionate. You can see it. You can see it through the screen.
Totally.
And I also like how much wine I can see in the
there's
background.
wine all over.
Obviously,
Just like you, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Similar.
So what we have here is someone who maybe was like a normal wine drinker, but really turned into a professional.
And
we
brought their
should
skill.
take credit for that. No, but yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and also like brought their skill to the area where they're so passionate about.
Yeah.
That's exciting to see.
Great. And then double down on something because he's into bubbly, so champagne and sparkling and so on. So we've talked about the story before. He did a blog post. So what we wanted to do was go through a couple of things that he had in the blog post. So we're going to go through a few clips with him. The first one is about the trade-off that Vivino users do. I mean, when people use Vivino, there's some kind of trade-off, right? We give them something for free and then they give us something back. So that's the first thing we're going to address here. Let's play the clip. What is it that you were a little bit disappointed by in the app?
So when you say disappointed, I mean, it was a trade-off initially. I knew for sure that I'm putting on content and you use that content to build the platform. That's a trade-off and that is fine. But what you find is when you use a concept frequently, you have an attachment to that. You have a belonging. You even believe in a small way that you own it. It's part of you. It's part of your everyday process of your job. So when I go doing tasting in London, which is where I'm based, I'm using your platform 50, 60 times. Rightly or wrongly, I'm thinking, wait a minute, this is part of me. I have a right. I'm getting annoyed when he doesn't do what I want to do more than other things that I don't use each and every day. So you have a tie-in with that brand. For me, when you yourselves, I'm not discrediting this idea, but you have this premium kind of account concept. That is a paid-for concept, and I understand one needs to earn money. It's a business. At the end of the day, it's a business. But I'm thinking, wait a minute, I'm a user here that's giving you massive content. I'd never expected anything back, but the time has come now that maybe some of your top users that have a certain amount of reviews on there, that using it in a sincere manner should not have to pay that premium account. Now, I don't know what that fee is, Heini. I really don't know. £5-6 a month. It's not the amount, it's the principle.
Mm-hmm.
You go first.
It's not the amount, it's the principle.
Yeah.
Those are some wise words. I think if I try to boil down to one message here, I think the message is quite clear. There are quite a few users out there that have invested a lot into the platform. They have put a lot of hours, a lot of effort into like creating the content that we really need. Yep. We really need to make sure that
there's no product without it.
Exactly. Like ultimately, like there is no product without people who actually review wines.
No.
So we really need people to continue reviewing wines. We really rely ultimately on that content.
Yeah.
So obviously, like once you've put so much effort into the platform, you feel the attachment, and it's a very healthy attachment to something that you care about and something that you have put so much time and effort into. And then when that platform comes back at you with like ads and like the ask to start paying for it, I can totally understand the emotion that would arise from that, which is that it feels unfair. Feels unfair that like all of a sudden like you kind of disregard all the years and all the contribution that I've done and you ask me to pay for it. So I totally understand the emotion and I totally understand how we could have done it better. Yeah. I think the reality is to kind of like repeat the same quote again. It's not really about the money. It's about the message and what Vivino wants to do for those top contributors.
Yeah, we're going to get back to that. But maybe also that the trade-off has changed, right?
Yeah.
That I came into this and this was free, and now you have ads and you're charging for it. So
right.
I signed up for this and now you changed it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which I think, I mean, we hear it from more people than just the top contributors because, yeah, the trade-off has changed. Yeah. And we have provided a lot of functionality and a lot of features without ever asking to pay for it. Yeah. Ultimately, because we relied on one business model. And we, especially during the COVID times, you have the whole episode about that. During the COVID times, we thought that would be the major business model behind this company. And now post-COVID, we know that that's not the case.
No.
We cannot survive just on one business model. It works well for us. It works well to give a way for people to buy wine on a platform, but it cannot sustain the millions of users that we have. So we need to have another model to actually continue investing into the utility of the app and investing into the community around the app, and that's premium. Yeah. So I can totally understand the emotion behind being upset that things that used to be free are not free anymore. Yeah. That's also not necessarily fair. If we knew from the beginning that we would end up with multiple business models, I don't think we would have done it this way.
No. And that's the thing here. We've realized that we need more than one model, and then we changed it. And I obviously, I don't think we had another choice. This was the right thing to do. But I do understand the emotion and so on from it. But also, when he speaks about Vivino and he talks about ownership, I mean, that's like a dream come true for anyone who builds a product, right?
100%. This is there is a part of me that, of course, we want to do our best to make sure that the top contributors, they also they don't feel mistreated here. No. But the fact that they actually feel mistreated is also actually a good indication that there is something very special about our community. Yeah. We might not be doing the best job actually catering to all the different slices of our community, to all the different groups within the community, but it is there. We just need to do better.
Yeah, and they do care.
And they do care.
It was much worse if they didn't care at all.
Exactly. So as long as we you keep talking to people like Christopher, we will make sure that we continue doing better for them. Yeah. We will make sure that we can know what's happening, what they think about our development, and just make things better for them. Like for instance, is it fair that people who have contributed with more than thousands of reviews, they don't have premium for free given to them? I don't think it's fair, and that's why we actually reached out to our top contributors and we gave them the opportunity to try premium for a longer time. Yep. For some people, it's many months, just to give us feedback on how it works without them needing to pay for it. So if you are one of the contributors ambassadors, please check your email. We'll keep reminding them about this opportunity, and we want to hear more from them.
Yeah, and maybe there is some balance. Maybe we haven't hit the balance yet. I mean, that could be it, right?
Yeah, and we started with the need to just ultimately build and provide premium to everyone.
Yeah.
When you start with that, you end up kind of like missing some groups within our community. Unfortunately, one of the groups that we missed is the top contributors. Yeah. So now we have, we are committed to make it work for them.
Yeah. The next one is about ambassadors, and should we make some ambassadors out of some of these people? So let's watch the clip.
Mm-hmm.
Our top users are our very important people, because not only do they use this platform, most of these people are in the wine industry. Yeah, ladies and gents are in the wine industry, and they have their own networks of people. So if we do a good job with these people, they could be persuading countless other wine professionals and even consumers to use the platform. I have installed the Vivino app onto so many people's phones when I'm at wine events.
Thank you.
Telling people how to use it. They look at it and I said, it can't be that easy. I said, it is. Point the phone, get the bottle, do that, and there it is. And put your tasting notes in, and it's saved. You don't have to worry about losing your piece of paper. It's a good concept. And as I look at it, that you should have maybe your top reviewers in each country more engage with the philosophy behind Vivino. They understand Vivino. I don't need to promote Vivino. If I tell somebody about Vivino and they use it, it's just satisfaction. It's nice to. I don't get anything. There's no affiliation program, and neither would I want one. But if I was more engaged with Vivino by way, and I think I've only ever attended one dinner once. I was invited to a dinner many years ago. If I was more engaged with Vivino, such as we're not asking for anything free. We don't look for freebies. But if I was part of a networking group, or we went to in London 67 Pall Mall for a dinner, then I would have a 5 or 10% more push or drive to promote Vivino. I don't know why.
Affinity, whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
And the affinity. Yeah. That's what it is. You like the brand, you use it. You want other people to use it.
Yeah, like he pitches Vivino to us, which is amazing, right? So we can't be complaining about that. But should we be doing more for ambassadors? What do you think?
I think it again comes down to the fact that we haven't done enough for our community. We have been blessed with having such a extremely engaged group of people that actually care so much about Vivino. For the past, I would say, like 3 years, we've been mostly focused on actually building the business model behind this company in order for us to actually sustain ourselves so that we wouldn't depend on external investment. And it has been the major focus of all our product development investments as well, right? Like you cannot really afford building community features or even like investing into just working with the community if your main focus is to figure out how to make money and to actually survive long term. Now that we are at a very different situation, we have built a very successful business model where we do sell a lot of wine. B, we have created another business model where we can actually show that the more we invest into the community, the more we can make out of it, and then so that we can invest even more into building community features and supporting our community. Now it also makes a financial sense to actually invest into that community, making sure that the word of mouth can actually spread much better, that we can support people like Christopher when they talk about Vivino so that they would know the culture and the overall vibe and why Vivino exists and how to also support us. Like what do we care about? How we can make sure that we both survive in this world. Like we as the company, because ultimately we need to make money and we need to sustain ourselves, and also our community that also wants us to survive and to exist long term.
Yeah, and we've been a little bit spoiled, right? Because we've been in a situation where 15,000 people install Vivino every single day. And when we saw that happening, then we had to be, okay, let's focus on building the business on top of that. Mm-hmm. We've taken that pretty far now, and we really want to, make a little bit more room for community and spend more resource on that. I think that's super important.
Yeah, and I think you're right that like we were spoiled in a sense, or more precisely, we had invested a lot into building an amazing app and an amazing functionality. And then at a certain time, like at a certain point, when you come to an investor and you show like, you have an amazing app, like lots of people use it. Yeah. And then the question is like, how do you make business out of it?
Yes.
And we couldn't actually answer without actually building all of these things. And it took us some time. Now we're at a very different situation. Like we have a running business behind this. Now we can actually find the right balance there. And I think we were lucky that our community allowed us several years to actually build the business model behind buying and selling wine. Like it was really great to see that our community was fine with us not really investing anything into community, like ultimately not building a lot of community features and letting us build the biggest wine e-commerce in the world. Now that we have built it, I think it's only fair that we need to strike the right balance. So we're investing fully back into the community.
And we are investing in premium, but we are also investing in all the other features in the app. We are spending a lot more resources today on actually building the app, not just the commercial part.
Exactly. And like if you even like our brainstorm sessions around premium, as you're a part of some of them, they're very often about like what can we bring into the actual free functionality, how we can make sure that people use Vivino not just for scanning but also for everything else wine related. Like there's a lot of thinking that goes into like what we can build that will be ultimately free forever with of course some premium angle to it. Like then what could be the kind of like the more enhanced version of that, or what could be some more advanced features around it. So there is a lot of product development that's happening right now, or product thinking that we're currently considering, where we are actively investing into the community features.
Yeah. So any ideas for what we could have give these ambassadors? Should we arrange dinners around the world? What do you think?
I think we should. I think we we should look into what we can do better with people that have contributed a lot into the community, and also with people that actually want to build their network within Vivino as well. Like we used to have, and we still have, the featured users as one of the kind of like a way to distinguish some special users within the community. We used to use them a little bit better. Like for instance, we used to promote featured users for anyone who joins Vivino. So like, if you join Vivino and you don't actually have any friends who are into wine, these are the folks that you want to follow. And this is an example of a feature that actually makes a lot of sense. It's also something that we are very eager to bring back once we, again, can invest a little bit more into community. So there's more to come. Like we're definitely thinking about it. It's not something that we're actively building right this second, but it's definitely something that is on a big board of all the ideas for future improvements. But I think the angle that we're committed to is how we can make sure that we can support our community with all the different variations within the community, not only the ones who care a lot about wine, but also the ones who just use it casually. We're also building a lot of features for those folks. But it's obvious that we have not really focused a lot on the ones that are very engaged with the platform and have contributed a lot and are actually expecting a lot back from us.
So this leads us to the next one, because the next one is he is talking about the people that are in the industry. Mm-hmm. Obviously, a lot of people work in the wine industry, including Christopher here, right? So what are we doing with them? What are we building for them? So let's dig into that. If someone comes back to you and says, I do not use Vivino, and they've made a conscious choice, why do you think that is?
Usually, at the beginning, and I can remember one very good friend of mine, a Russian connection that I've got very high up in the wine industry, said, I'm not going to give them content. I've seen this before. I give them content. They use my content. I'm high up in the wine industry. I said, okay, that's maybe. Though between you and I, they have Vivino now. So here we go. So they have Vivino now. I think I don't know really. I don't think there is a massive disconnect between them using it. There's nothing they're rebelling against. There's nothing that Vivino is that they would dislike. I think it's the coercion. It's literally, it requires someone and they need to look at it and go, really, that's quite neat. Okay. Yeah. I click the button on my phone. I take a picture of the bottle, and hey presto. I think they just need to be coerced into using it. And once they've used it, especially wine professionals, they will continue to use it undoubtedly.
Yeah, that's an interesting angle. I do agree that there are lots of wine professionals that use Vivino.
Totally.
And I think it's it goes back to what you use Vivino for. Because Vivino is not just one trick pony. Like there are lots of things that you can. Now we are thinking about us as more of a super app.
Yeah.
Because there are just so many things you can do.
It's like everything wine, right?
Yeah. Like if you think about it, yeah, you can go scan, you can go search, you can go see all the information about wine. You can see taste characteristics that are actually powered by community. You can see the average rating. So like the community
Prices,
actually rates
where to buy, you name
prices. You can buy. Then there is a social element of it, and then there is the education. There are wine adventures, so you can learn about wine, and then there is the wine library. Like you can actually go through all the styles and all the regions in the world in just one place. So it's like we're like trying to also a little bit reassess what we've built so far. The best way and the best metaphor we can come up with was like we're a little bit of a super app. Like the only thing that unites it all together is just it has something to do with wine.
Yeah.
Like it's a technology solution for a wine related problem. And those problems are plenty. Either you're at a supermarket in front of the wine shelf, or you're at home like actually not remembering what wine you liked the last time you drank something, or you're trying to figure out if you like that grape or the other grape, but you don't actually know the difference between them. Like all of these things is like we have a solution for it, but the only uniting thing is that it's just about wine. Yeah. So can we see and do we see wine experts using Vivino, for instance, in order to track their own wine drinking journey?
Well, we know he does at least, right?
100%.
So, yeah.
Like we see it. Like Vivino is amazing for that, right? Like you take a scan of wine, it gets entered into your My Wines. You can add a note, and then boom, it's recorded. You can go to the website and then download everything, so you can export it somewhere else. Like there is no limitation in how you use the platform in that sense. To that extent, you don't even need to care about the Vivino community if you want to use Vivino this way. Yeah. For instance, we know that there are lots of wine experts and people that work in the industry that say we don't really trust the ratings. Oh. And the answer is like, if you don't trust the ratings, that's totally fine. Like there are lots of people that don't trust Google Maps ratings. Like they don't go and check reviews of the restaurant. They open a Michelin guide for that.
But I will say that I noticed that he did not say that.
He did not.
He didn't say a lot of specific things about, hey, people in the industry don't want to use it because.
Right.
His biggest thing was like, you know what? I'm too valuable. I don't want to give them all this, and I don't get enough back. That was his primary thing. So I was sort of like positive surprised by that he didn't talk about, look, I don't care about all your community things and so on. I think now our ratings are so good that they do care.
I think they care, and I think it's one of the data points or one of the kind of like an insight that they can consider. But ultimately, I think what I heard is that he says like, go try to use it and see how you can actually use it for your own like work and for your own like problems that Vivino can solve. And you might like, as you use it, you might actually find out that like, yeah, there is lots of things that you will benefit from. Yeah. Like it's much easier to take a picture or of a wine label and actually read the wine information rather than like trying to, put your reading glasses and find all the information about a wine on the other side of the...
Yeah, or put it all in your camera roll and now you have 10,000 wines. They're not structured.
Exactly. So I think the whole point is that you can find a lot of useful things if you just actually try to use Vivino rather than just to say like, oh, Vivino is not for me because it uses the ratings from everyone in the world. And if I don't care about, what like, hundreds of people have to say about a particular wine, if I care about like, for instance, some specific expert opinions on wine, Vivino can still be for you.
Sure. Yeah.
You can still use Vivino when it comes to wine tracking and wine journaling. Just, then you just wouldn't care that much about what others have to say.
And I will say, like, we care about professionals because we do rely on them. We know that they're overrepresented in the number of ratings and how much they use it. People like Christopher, like, do a lot of ratings. So, and obviously high quality ratings too. So one question I know, maybe a little bit of a sneak peek, we have a free version, we have a premium version. Like, could there be a version for professionals too?
Clearly, yes, because their needs are very different
right? Yeah.
from what we have built so far.
Yeah.
Like there are lots of things that are common, like in a sense that like, obviously like there is a piece of technology that needs to recognize wines, that needs to be able to record wines. And then there is a lot of data, for instance, that we currently don't utilize. Like I'm pretty sure there are lots of industry professionals that would like to know a lot about what's happening in the industry. Yeah. And the thing is that we know it. We know a lot because we have so many wine drinkers, and we don't really give any access or any way to obtain those things.
Because most people don't want it or are not that interested, but these guys would be, right?
Exactly. So I'm pretty sure there are some really cool needs and problems, cool in the sense that like they're solvable. Like we can actually solve them with the technology that we have built, or the data that we already have. Is just about actually making a product out of it and making sure that they can use it.
And is the group big enough? Is it interesting? Can we build enough features? And should we charge for it? In that case, how much? So interesting.
Yeah, so there is a lot of opportunity there. For us, it's still a little bit early. Like we're talking about it. We want to know more. So we definitely want to hear more from users like Christopher. And there are lots of ways where now, like, so if you become a premium user, there's a lot of ways for you to express your feedback and to give your opinion back on premium. So that's, for instance, one way we're now seeing some industry professionals joining premium and then telling us, it's like, guys, premium is okay, but honestly, like there are lots of features that I would like to get and they're not in premium. And when we look at that feedback, we can clearly see, okay, that's a little bit more on the professional side.
You're in that group.
Exactly. But it's very valuable because now we can consolidate those and we can create, let's call it like a pro version at some point that will have all of these features. So if you're a premium user and you do have those specific needs, please do let us know, because then they would power that potential development of the product.
And not necessarily limited to professional. Could also be like prosumers, like people that are really into wine, maybe have a big collection.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a similar group. They have similar needs, I would say.
Yeah, I think so. But again, I think to our point, we would need to know more about those users. So we would like to hear a lot from them. So please do let us know what you think.
The next one is somewhat related to a similar thing, because it's one of the things that we hear from professionals, and it is about, again, do I care about what the community has a rating, and should it be done in a different way? So let's have a look at the clip first.
Opinions in the wine industry is what makes it turn around. If we all had the same opinion, it would be mightily more. At the end of the day, who buys the wine? The wine expert doesn't buy wines. It gets sent to you to review, okay? The most important thing to the whole industry is the consumer. These are the people that buy the wine. So their opinion is actually important. But I mean, I don't overly disagree with the way that you've got consumers and wine experts judging the wine, because I think you come to the medium that's probably more correct. It's between wine expert that may know the grapes and terroir better compared to the wine consumer that's paid £20 for that bottle and has experienced the wine with their hard-earned money. So I totally get that.
One community rating and one professional rating.
That's a nice idea. I like the sound of that idea, if I'm honest. So how you distinguish who your professional people are is another matter. But will that then reduce consumers' value and opinion? Because they'll think that their opinion's down here. I don't like the sound of some of that, because it grades wine experts up here and consumers down here, on which an app that you've got is all inclusive, and the division or diversity is all there. Anybody can use that. You can be a sommelier at the Savoy Hotel, or you can be a person that buys their wine at the local supermarket. Each person's opinion, like when you vote for your government or your president, each person carries the same weight.
Okay, I want to let's start with the ending here, right? Would you ever do, shall we say, a two-tiered rating system?
I really love the way Christopher described it. He literally stole what I was about to react with out of my mouth. There is a lot of power in creating a platform where everyone has a say. Yep. There's a lot of power in making sure that everyone who has an opinion can express it. Our job as a platform is to be as objective as possible in that regard. Yep. We should be able to give voice to everyone who wants to use it, and we should be able to just let them express themselves on the platform that we build.
I want to say one thing, because the listeners might not know this. All ratings are equal on Vivino.
Exactly.
And it's an average of that. So we don't do any weights, and this is what we're talking about. So
exactly. So every single rating that you create on Vivino counts, and it counts equally to any other rating that has been placed. And I think when you look back at the weird times when Vivino didn't exist, I think it was such a strong message to send to the industry and overall to everyone who cared about wine, that wine is not just for the people who need to receive education.
Everyone has a
about
voice.
It. Everyone has an opinion, and like honestly, like is it the only approach out there? No, right? Same as like with, for instance, the metaphor that I used before with restaurants. Like you can rely on Michelin Guide in order to pick a restaurant, or you can go to Google Maps and find all the ratings that are placed by people that use Google Maps. Can both be used by restaurant goers? Yeah, both can exist. We decided to take the niche that just didn't exist back then. Wine was such a world where, if you didn't know anything about wine or you didn't know enough, then you couldn't have a say in it, right? Like you had to rely on experts. You had to rely on people that received some education about it, or just like tried enough in order to form an opinion, or like just go to people who work in those places, right? And only then you could express your opinion as a person who actually works in a wine selling place. We decided to take a stance on that and decided to send the message that we are here to create a platform where there is a true democracy. Can we see some opportunities for creating like a kind of like a solution that would morph these two into one, or like maybe actually create a more well-rounded insight for you to consider? Like, for instance, if you're a person that cares about both the expert ratings, but also like about what people have to say on Vivino, should you be able to see both? I believe so.
Okay,
like,
so that is your answer. You think we could have two ratings?
I think what we can have is that we can have a more well-rounded set of insights that we provide to our users. One of them is Vivino ratings. Like this
community rating.
This is what the community has to say. And the other one is, for instance, completely different side. This is what experts have to say. And potentially the other one could be, and this is our AI that analyzed the reviews, looked at the opinion of people that have explored enough or have rated a lot of similar wines, and these are the nuggets of insights that are most important for you to know about this wine. Can we imagine like this being combined in all one place, Vivino? Yeah, I think so. Should it be like this is the rating of normies and this is the rating of experts? I'm not sure this is the right approach there, but I am sure that if you look at Vivino as more of a super app, like one place for you to solve all your wine related problems and to get help with technology when it comes to knowing anything you want about wine, I think we should cover everything.
Okay, so interesting. Look, I probably agree with you, and I think we've done this for many years now, and having a community rating, we've said that like, hey, the community rating works. It's an amazing rating. I think it's the best rating out there because it's more consistent, it has scale and those things. But that doesn't exclude a strict expert rating and just putting and say, look, there are some people that are experts in wine and they think this. And some people want that, and that's fine. So that leads me to the next question. How would you pick those people?
That's a really good question. I think it all comes down to what we know about our users. And the main thing that we know is what they've tried, how they rated things, and how the community reacted to the things that they have rated. So luckily we have a lot of signals like that. Like we already have a lot of people that receive quite a lot of attention on the platform, even though we're not really helping them much. Like back to my original point about the featured users and kind of like facilitating the community interactions. Most of it happens kind of like in spite of what we have rather than supported by it. So I think we can do a much better job, and we can rely on those signals in order to find people that we would rely more on, like when it comes to their information. Again, I'm not sure it would necessarily be like, here are the people and this is the average rating out of those people. Maybe it's more about this is what they have to say about it. Because if you think about what else can Vivino help with, it's not just like, give you, is it a 3.6 or a 3.7 wine? It's also about what is interesting about this wine. Now we can show you the taste characteristics of this wine, the overall flavor profile. Is there something else that is interesting about the
and someone who knows this region really well says this.
Exactly. Like there is a special story about this wine. Can we find that story in all the reviews that people have placed? Before AI, it would have been hard. But now that we have the AI to assist us there, maybe there is something we can build there.
Let me push this story a little bit further here. So what if our experts say, look, we love what you do, we love your ratings and so on, but what we really want is a 100-point scale based on these experts. So would you do that? Would you say, hey, expert rating, and then convert some of these users into 100-point scale, the good old 100-point scale?
The good old 100-point scale. I think we are really lucky, and I think that was originally a really good decision for us to go with a simpler scale. Like it does resonate.
It is a weird scale, 100-point scale. Let's get that.
Yeah, it's a weird one. I can understand why it was picked specifically for people that have spent a lot of time actually tasting a lot of different wines. But I do also want to acknowledge the fact that for the majority of people, that's a weird one.
Yeah. Let's explain how it works. Like, so it's a 100-point scale. I think it was invented by Robert Parker back in the day. In theory, it goes from 0 to 100, but nothing's ever rated under 50. And usually we would never release any ratings under 80, right? So it's this weird that actually goes from 80 to 100.
Right. Yeah.
So it's
which is like, to be fair, if you look at our average rating, like you would see a somewhat similar pattern. Like most of the wines are actually rated closer to like the end of it. And there are not that many wines that get an average of like, let's say 1.5. That would be a really, really bad wine.
Yeah.
So there is a like more natural reason for that to happen. And then there is a slightly more artificial, like over the years, how that 100-point scale has evolved. Whether we would adapt to it, I think it comes down to our audience that we have at the moment, which is like the average wine consumers that are interested in wine, but they appreciate extra help from the app like ours. They do need that help. They don't want to put time and effort into reading books or listening to podcasts. Or
some podcasts I will listen to.
Maybe this one, hopefully. So for those users, the app is the best helper. Yeah. So specifically for those users, the scale that we have right now is the best scale that we can produce. We know that. We've tried different things. We have evolved it a little bit. Like some listeners might remember that some years ago we could only rate with 0.5. Even before that, thumbs up, thumbs down. Yeah. And then a few years ago, we introduced a way to rate more precisely, like go a little bit in between. Like for instance, prior to that, it was only possible to rate with like 3.5, 4, 4.5, and 5. Now you can actually give a more precise score, which I think is more helpful for some users. Could be a little bit more intimidating for some other users. So we also need to find the right balance there.
Exactly. But you are touching on some of the core issues that Christopher really has, and is that we built this app for the casual wine drinkers, for people that want to snap quickly, rate quickly, and so on. And then some of the more professional are finding that something's missing here, and we keep focusing on that big group, and they feel a little bit neglected. And I think that's fair, right? It's fair of them to say that.
It's very fair. And also, like what we see is that those professionals, they would still use Vivino, and they would put their own 100-point scale rating in the comments.
Yeah, exactly, which is amazing. Yeah.
So it's happening out there, and at some point we can consider whether we can just support them a little bit better with it, whether we want to record it just as a separate data point, and for them to be able to like sort on it and filter out and work with it better. So I think I can see some features within that realm. So hopefully at some point we'll get there.
So the thing about our how people rate wine, it's different than how they rate restaurants. So like TripAdvisor, Yelp, we know for a fact people do a lot of 1 to 5 star ratings. And for us, that just isn't the case.
No,
We have this beautiful distribution, very few 1s, actually very few 5s, and people are there in the middle. And I mean, I think my theory is always like, turns out people get a lot more mad at a waiter in a restaurant than they do at a bottle of wine, right? So that ends up 1 or 5, where it doesn't get as emotional with a bottle of wine.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. It probably doesn't. And additionally...
Do you ever get mad at wine?
Sometimes when I build some like crazy high expectations, and then I try as like, what?
But you still didn't give it a 1 star.
No, I didn't give it a 1 star. I think weirdly enough, even though I do believe that wine as a domain is quite emotional, it's very passion driven, and there is a lot of
but that doesn't go into our app apparently.
Doesn't go into our app. Like if you are really upset with wine, you'll probably just not give it a 1 star.
Yeah, exactly. We have one more clip here because. And it's quite an interesting perspective here because it's all about the trade-off again. And did we actually open the door up to some competition by doing this? Let's watch the clip.
Well, don't forget, once you've created this good concept, other people are ready to jump into your shoes. So there's other concepts out there that we can say, well, they would be delighted to have me come across.
But basically, what he's saying is that the competition, since this is not free anymore, somebody else could do something similar. And we obviously know we're doing this for 14 years. It's a little bit tricky. But obviously, he has a point there. Thoughts on that?
So just for me to understand it better, so is the question here, how risky do we think it is for us to now monetize a free platform, while there could be other players that would come in and build a free solution?
Totally. Build a free solution and then take some of these wine experts over and say, look, this is free instead. I want to use this instead.
Right. So is it a risk? Yeah, like it is a risk. Like we do understand that by now creating or by now introducing premium, we are asking people to start paying for things that used to be free, and someone else can come in and deliver all the same features for free. I would be very interested to see how they would actually make money on it, because we've tried it. We've tried it for years. It's unfortunately quite expensive to maintain a platform that is used by millions and millions of people that produce a lot of content that needs to be then stored and maintained.
And you literally need millions of people. Otherwise, you won't have the data to actually build a good product.
Exactly. So we're quite lucky in that sense. Like we have a lot of data and a lot of people in the community that use us. Do we think that it's time for us to just chill and relax and the money will just flow to us? No, I don't think so. I think we should be on top of our game here. Like we need to make sure that we continue improving our product. We need to make sure that there's still a lot of value that we deliver for free. Yeah. Because if we stop doing that, obviously then there will be an opportunity for someone else.
That would be my next question, right? So, okay, let's take this to the next level. And that next level is, okay, so just so everyone knows, Vivino is free, supported by advertising, and then there is a premium version too. What if we said, no, we are a fully paid platform now? What do you think would happen then?
And it's exactly the reason why we're not doing it, right? Like we can see that, there will always be people that would not pay for it. In our world, it's fine because we want to help them anyway. Yeah. Like there will always be, like, let's face it, like, and we know that there are plenty of people that just use Vivino like once in a while. Like it's something that they only use like 5 times a year. Like then when they use it, it's a really helpful tool, but they don't use it that often. Would we want to completely abandon those people? No, I don't think so. I think we're still very passionate about actually solving their problems. For what it's worth, I think I believe that once you solve it well, you can actually show how much more exciting wine is as a domain itself, how much more complexity there is there. And I do believe that there are a lot of people that can actually become more interested in wine if they use the app more. Yeah. Like you can see that, like if once I show it to some friends that are not too much into wine, and they can see that like there is no mystery behind wine. There's just like a lot of cool facts, and then there is a lot of help in you discovering wine and as a thing. I can totally see how more of my even friends, they become slightly more interested in wine just by knowing that, oh, it's not a weird mystery thing, like lots of smoke and mirrors behind those wine bottles. It is the actual like thing, the actual craft that people care a lot about, and some of them might become interested in that craft, in this craft, and like long term would become more and more of a regular Vivino user, and that's what we want.
Yeah.
For some of them, it will never happen, and it's also totally fine.
And
We're there to just help them with the need that they have. They would use the app once in a while. We will show them a few ads because we still need to maintain the platform, and we still need to make sure that we actually have the features that they would want to use.
Yeah.
And it's also fine with us.
I mean, very interesting conversation, right?
Very.
And the reason why we brought Christopher into this conversation was because his blog post was like, he was serious, he was a passionate user, a little bit disappointed. What do you think?
I really enjoyed actually listening to the points that he brought up. Yeah. There's definitely a lot of passion. Also, not obviously about wine, but also about Vivino as well. It sounded like there were lots of things that I heard from Christopher where I could just write it down and then use it as Vivino mission always, almost.
Which is incredible, right? That he says that.
It is truly incredible. He did highlight a few things that I do believe we can get better at. We have, as I said, we have mostly focused on building the business model behind this company, and that resulted in us not really putting enough effort and enough attention into our community. So there are lots of good points where we can get much better at. So that's something that we will continue thinking about. That's something that we will continue investing into. But I do appreciate the opportunity that you've created to actually hear those thoughts and hear those opinions. When you have millions of people, it's sometimes hard to also listen equally to all the different representatives.
And I don't think people really understand the volume of feedback that we get, right? I mean, we get so much and we're trying to listen to all of it. I mean, reviews, emails, support, everything, and we really try to listen, but it is hard. It is really difficult.
It can get overwhelming. Yeah. When you read, and we read through every single review on stores, we read through a lot of feedback that we receive from all the different surveys that we run. It can easily get overwhelming, and you can sometimes lose the both the overall picture.
You get too thick skin. You got to be careful. Exactly.
Yeah. And also you can sometimes not notice that there is a very strong signal that just comes from a particular segment of our users. Totally. So I think it was really helpful. It was literally really helpful for us, for me specifically, for the future product development to kind of know that there's a very distinctive voice there, and there's a very special opinion out there.
Totally. Cool. So special thank you to Christopher for that.
Thank you.
Good. This concludes our 4th episode. I hope you enjoyed the new format here. As always, like, subscribe, comment wherever you listen, and send us an email, podcast@vivino.com. If you send us a voice message, we might put it on here, even a video message like we've seen that today. We look forward to continuing the conversation, and thank you, Oleg. Thank you to all our listeners.